The first thing we do is we see this list of templates, and you can just scroll down, take a look. The templates do have descriptions when you roll over them to give you a sense of what they will do and work like. And there's a number of things we've done to try to make it easy for you to use these to make put your data into here. So let me add this, I'm calling a normalized 3D time chart. I'm going to say, hey, I've got data that looks kind of like this and has a time basis. The first thing we do is, of course, we drop that into your flow. It creates all the different objects of this visualization, and of those, there's the swarm, which is the where the dots go in space. There's connections, which in this case is the lines that connect the dots. There's the area chart, which fills in below the lines to the axis, and then there's a legend, which is over here on the right hand side. So you see that there's these different within, or as part of the swarm, there's these number of components which add to the visualization. Now, because I just created this, it goes ahead and shows us, hey, here's the data that underlies this template. And the idea there is that you can go ahead and download the data in case it helps you see how we format things. And the way we format things is by default, each row is a dot. What I'm going to do is replace data, because I expect that's going to be, one of the first things you're going to want to do. I'm just going to drag and drop a CSV file onto this upload CSV spot. And the system is going to go ahead and take that and take its best guess on how to remap that data. So this data is actually a stock portfolio. It's actually from 2020. And what it did is it took a look at it and said the prior column used by the template was a month. This is the set of columns that are present in the data set I just uploaded. And by default, it actually picked the date. So these formats, that's a little weird. We should fix the date view, but it's showing a numeric representation instead of a date representation of the date. But in any case, it put the date on the width axis, and it put the value, which is this percent change from 1 to 1. What was a value column, it used the percent change column, and what was a category, it used the index.
So it automatically does that? It interprets the data so that the graph is most depictive of the data.
It's not a whole AI system.
Oh, okay.
It's an algorithmic system to say which categories, well, in this example, it said, hey, this column, the category column, used to be a categorical column, and which column in the new data set has the fewest number of unique values. So say this was a list of 10,000 cities, it wouldn't want to pick the city and put that on here. Instead, it would want to put the country and put it on this, because there's fewer unique values in the country column than on the city column. So it's algorithmic coming up with some ways to make a good guess, basically. Now, one of the things that it also does right away is it gives you you can see what these columns are applied to. So you can see that the date is applied to the width axis. And I can even actually click on this width axis, and it will jump. See, it highlighted the date over here. Same thing, I'll do it again on height axis. It shows you where in the UI this is changeable. So I can click on the color axis, and it's going to come down and say, oh, right now our colors are using a palette, and it's using the index category to do that. So this is a handy way to see how your data is applied to the data set. And you can get to that view again, always with the data set to columns. It's no longer replace data because now we've already replaced it, but you can still use this this pop-up to maybe see what's happening with the area chart, and is it applying, how is it connecting the dots to create this particular area chart. Just to give you an example of how different that could look, if I tell it to connect the area chart based on date, Now it's trying to line from each and every date down to the axis. Because there's so many dates, it's a little confusing to see. Maybe another example is the connections. It's connecting all of the dots, see all the different dots, based on when the column values match the index. If I tell it what happens if I draw that when I connect the date, you can see the lines are now drawing in whenever the dates match. So if that's hopefully that's clear. You can see that we have to tell it how to connect the dots and how to figure out how to apply the area chart. And the same thing with the legend. Now this legend, it was part of the template, so it drops in here. Notice that within this swarm, these components, and I'm selecting the components in order to edit that thing. So I've selected the legend, and now I'm editing on the right-hand side the legend. If I want to go back and edit the swarm, which is where the width and height and depth axis, the fact that it's a scatter plot, that those parameters are under the swarm panel, and the legend parameters are under the legend panel.
So can you use that in an X, Y, and a Z? So if you have because the 3 dimensions is an X, Y, and Z, right?
Absolutely, and that's what this is particularly applying to right at the moment. So
but you're using the word swarm would mean your sample.
Yeah, let me define the swarm. So first of all, so what I just did is I removed out the other aspects, other components, and I just left the swarm. And the swarm is literally, how shall we put each data point in 3D space? And by definition, in 3D space is X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
And in this example, with this swarm, we've said we want to use a scatter plot to do it. There's other types, right? Including network graphs and, maps and things like that. In this example, we want to put on the width axis, we want to put the date. On the height axis. So instead of calling it X, Y, and Z, we make it more user-friendly to be width, height, and depth.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
All right. So the swarm literally is how you put dots in 3D space. Now, just to make that, in case you get confused by any of these things, let me show you our help system, because it can help answer the terms for this.
Right.
So I can just start typing swarm here, and there's a variety of options that come up. First, I can click here. It says, oh, a swarm is our made-up name for our visualizations, and thinking of it as a way to arrange data points in 3D space. But this isn't just a help, it's actually a magic help. So you can do a number of other things. You can have it, maybe I want to select this swarm, and it actually just selected it on the left-hand side. There's a number of these little help icons throughout the UI, and getting to be more every day, because the help system is only about 10 days old. So we keep working it through. But like in this example, I can, it's telling me what a chart is, and I can navigate into see more about what dispersion is and bars. And so it's a really handy way to see a lot of information about our system. It'll even pop up help videos to walk you through what is a template and how does it all work. So if you get confused or have more questions after you leave here, use the help system. It should make things a little bit easier, certainly to understand the terminology that we've applied. You'll notice that I'm double clicking. You may not know that that's a double click, or you can click the little visible icon to turn on and off the components. And that, as you get more and more steps built down here in your timeline, you'll see that that's important.